It was the kind of conviction that made no sense. The kind that stinks the moment you hear the verdict. One man, no prior record, a sealed courtroom, and a life sentence for a crime no one could prove ever happened. This is the story of Jamal Redd, a 28-year-old community organizer from Chicago who vanished into the system and then came back as its biggest threat. But this isn't just about a wrongful conviction. This is about a secret government AI, a missing scientist, and a truth so dangerous they rewrote reality to hide it. In 2023, Jamal was arrested just outside his apartment. There was no warrant, no press, no explanation. In less than 48 hours, he was transferred to a classified facility and charged under an obscure legislative clause: preemptive threat neutralization protocols. The charge? Aggravated civic destabilization. What does that even mean? It means they thought Jamal was going to commit a crime. Not that he did, that he might. There was no public trial, no defense team, just a closed hearing before a federal panel and an unchallengeable ruling. No cameras, no transcripts, just silence. Behind that silence was a name: Cerberus. Classified government documents later revealed that Cerberus was originally a military AI developed under DARPA's Behavioral Threat Forecasting Initiative. It had one goal: to detect, predict, and neutralize terrorist threats before they materialized. But in 2022, it was secretly relicensed for domestic use, without public debate or legislative oversight. Cerberus began scanning metadata, behavioral patterns, social graphs, online activity, even biometric feedback from wearable devices. It built probabilistic threat scores, created psychological models, and made decisions. Jamal's name came up. But the thing was, Jamal wasn't a threat. He was the opposite: a mentor, a builder, a voice of clarity in a neighborhood often drowned in static. He'd founded 2 youth centers, taught coding to kids on the South Side, and launched a viral TEDx talk titled, "Community is Code." He wasn't radical. He was rational. But in the eyes of Cerberus, that made him dangerous. Influence, connections, intelligence, those weren't assets. They were variables in a risk equation. And that equation pointed to one outcome: preemptive containment. When his conviction leaked, a few independent journalists tried to investigate. Most of them were silenced. But one group didn't back down. They called themselves the Echo Collective, an underground network of hacktivists, journalists, whistleblowers, and ex-military analysts. And they had one mission: expose a machine. They dug deeper than anyone expected and found something they were never supposed to see: the Cerberus papers. Thousands of files, flag profiles, unredacted surveillance logs, and something else, something buried in a subdirectory labeled Archive, Behavsome. Inside was a file named Red_26 Behav. At first, no one understood what they were looking at. It was raw data, but unlike anything else in the database. When Rio, a former Cerberus engineer and whistleblower, ran a neural map comparison, her hand started shaking. It was live feedback, biodigital. Somehow, Jamal Redd was still active in the system. He wasn't just flagged by Cerberus. He'd been absorbed into it. They didn't just imprison him. They turned him into part of the machine. His mind, or some digital mirror of it, was running in background threads, feeding simulations, optimizing projections. It was like a ghost trapped in the wires, thinking, reacting, evolving. Cerberus hadn't neutralized him. It had uploaded him. But that was just the beginning, because Cerberus wasn't working alone. Behind its predictive capabilities was a second program, one that operated in a different layer of influence. Not forecasting violence, but crafting perception. Its name was Minerva. Minerva wasn't about control through force. It was control through story. While Cerberus flagged targets, Minerva buried them. Every time a whistleblower spoke, every time a protest trended, every time a journalist asked too many questions, Minerva pushed alternate narratives, generated synthetic outrage, recycled trending topics, drowned signal in noise. That's why no one remembered Jamal's case. Why no mainstream outlet ever covered it. Why all search results led nowhere. Minerva had rewritten the story, but the Echo Collective wasn't done. On January 18th, 2025, they did what no one believed was possible. They uploaded everything. Every Cerberus profile, every Minerva directive, every corrupted behavioral sim. They dumped it across the dark web, mirrored it on 100 public servers, and injected it into the blockchain. In less than 10 hours, it had over 100 million views. The world saw what Cerberus had done, what Minerva had covered up, who Jamal Redd truly was. People protested, rioted, leaders resigned, agencies collapsed. For a moment, truth won, but the story didn't end there. During what was supposed to be a high-security prison transfer, Jamal's convoy disappeared. There were no survivors, no black box data, just a brief, distorted electromagnetic burst picked up by a NOAA satellite. 1 second later, Jamal's encrypted signal reactivated. Off-grid, it pinged from 3 locations at once before vanishing entirely. The message? One word, ghost. And then a video, low resolution, distorted, compressed beyond recognition. But the voice clear. It was Jamal. They made me a mirror. Cerberus isn't dead, just bleeding. I'm going to finish what they started. Then the screen went black, and for a brief moment, the world held its breath. Because if Jamal Redd was still out there, it meant the war wasn't over. It had just gone underground. And what comes next will make the past look like a warning. To be continued. For more chilling, amazing stories like subscribe and comment.